Hey y'all, hi. So, years ago, when my channel was really new, I got a comment that said, "Can you make a video about how to be elegant?" And at the time, I just laughed. I thought it was a nice compliment to be nominated for something like that, but I didn't take it seriously as a video suggestion. However, I have never forgotten that comment, largely because the question of human elegance is kind of a profound one. It's reductive and ableist to think that elegance is something that's purely physical. But if it's not just about the way you move your body, then what is it? And if you aspire to be elegant, what approach can you take? After literal years of thinking about it, I'm finally ready to share some thoughts. 3 elements of elegance that I think can work for everyone. And so without further ado, let's get into the meat of the video. Okay, so 3 ways to be elegant in order from shallowest to deepest, kind of, and also in order from easiest to hardest. My first tip is, I would say, the most cosmetic, and that is to really take a moment to thoughtfully optimize your own ease when you're putting yourself together to go out for the day. Meaning, make choices about what you wear and what you carry with you that really prioritize your ease and your comfort. If you're comfortable in your skin and you find your belongings easy to manage, you will more easily access your elegance. This could look different for different people. This will look different for different people, but here are a couple of possibilities as to what it could mean practically. 1, don't carry stuff with you that you don't need, even down to the tiniest thing. I find it a useful practice to unpack my handbag when I get home from an errand or when I get home at the end of the day. I'll take out my wallet, my keys, my phone, my Kindle, my sunglasses, and put them all away in designated places. I'll also take out my makeup bag and put each piece of makeup away in its spot in my vanity. Then when I'm getting ready to go out the next time, I'll only put the things that I need that day into the bag I'm carrying that day. And that means that I'm only taking the makeup items that I need for touch-ups on that day. I mean, I aspire to do this, right? This is an example. And I would say I achieve it maybe 75% of the time. But even just doing it 75% of the time, even just aspiring to it, means that my handbags don't become overstuffed, bottomless receptacles. And it's much, much easier for me to manage my stuff and myself when I'm out and about on any given day. If you genuinely need a lot of stuff for your day, my suggestion is to carry a large bag so that it easily accommodates all of your stuff instead of being stuffed to the brim. Optimizing your comfort and your ease could also look like taking a moment to realistically assess the weather and the shape of your day when choosing things like footwear and outerwear. I mean, this actually starts when you buy your footwear and outerwear, as I discussed in my video about how to build your personal style based on a foundation of practical realities about your life. I will, of course, link that video so you can go watch it if you want to see it. But if you're going to be walking a lot on a certain day, don't wear shoes that aren't broken in, no matter how cute they are, no matter how tempting it seems. If it's going to be rainy, but also you might get kind of hot, you might need layers, but where are you going to put the layers that you remove over the course of the day? You might need a bigger bag so that your bag doesn't end up overstuffed and unwieldy when you take off your sweater, or maybe you opt for a thinner sweater that folds down compactly and fits easily into your smaller bag, etc., etc. You get my drift. Foreseeing these small logistical difficulties and solving them before you leave the house can be the entire difference between a day of awkward stuff juggling and blisters and a day of general ease and confidence. It's a way of taking care of yourself so that you can be the most effective version of yourself. Just creates the space so that you can move through your tasks and through your day more calmly. If you aren't used to this kind of forethought, it might take a bit of getting used to, and it also takes a little bit of time. But if you decide to do it, you can do it. Okay, that was the easy one. That was the fluff. And now we're digging in deeper. My second suggestion for people who want to be elegant is to focus on the person you are with. So what does this mean? It means when you are with someone at lunch with a friend, for example, see if you can quiet your own inner chatter and let go of your personal conversation agenda and really pay attention to that person and be receptive to what they are doing and saying. Interior monologues and constant social self-monitoring take a lot of energy. And if you can let go of them when you're with your friend, you might find that you suddenly have a lot of energy left over. If you aren't used to it, it's a radical act and very exciting to use that leftover energy to focus on the other person. So you're listening without interrupting. You're patient and comfortable during gaps or silences in the conversation. Your mind is actively engaged in trying to fully understand what the other person might be trying to express. And you aren't checking your phone. Your phone doesn't exist to you. You don't know her. There are lots of opportunities to practice this. Family meal times, conversations at work, even brief public interactions, like with the grocery checker or with your mail person. It's a matter of fully shifting your focus from yourself onto the other person. And the effect, if you can do it, and I'm not saying that I am an expert at any of these things, I aspire to all of these, but from the little that I've dabbled, the bit that I've managed to do this, I can tell you the effect is amazing. This kind of focus actually creates a calming effect because it gives the other person or the other people the sense that you have time for them. So it kind of opens up this spaciousness between you, and it makes the other person feel unrushed and unpressured. When you are the person from whom this sense of ease and relaxation is issuing, you become undeniably elegant to others. Now, for many people, consciously focusing on the other person does translate directly to certain physical qualities, like a warm, firm handshake when you first meet or a warm, firm hug, increased eye contact during conversation. These are all sparklingly elegant qualities, and it's worth paying attention to them and fostering them if you can. But some of those physical displays of focus and care might be difficult or impossible. Not everyone can use eye contact, for example, as a way of being present to another person. And that's okay. This kind of presence won't look the same in everyone. But no matter what, if you make an effort to be focused on the other person, that effort will come through and the other person will feel it. No matter what you are like, there will always be a palpable difference between the version of you who's paying full attention to your companion and the version of you who is only paying half attention. And no matter what it looks like in you, consciously remembering to pay full attention to your companion or your companions will always tap into your capacity to project calm, spaciousness, and patience. And tapping into those is part of how you tap into your innate elegance. All right, elegant quality number 3 is non-reactivity, the big one. You might have encountered the concept of non-reactivity if you've done any kind of mindfulness training, meditation, or learned about Buddhism. It also comes up in some methods of trauma processing and anxiety treatment and has a place in Western psychology as far as I understand it. Now, I'm not an expert in any of those things, and I won't pretend to be, but I have come to believe that non-reactivity is one of the most elegant qualities that a person can exhibit. And since elegance is the topic of this video, I'm going to give you a brief, simplified, and probably somewhat pedestrian explanation of non-reactivity in my own words. When you practice non-reactivity, you allow some time to pass in the moment before you take action on what has just happened or what is happening. So to simplify it extremely, it's a practice of stillness or of doing nothing right at those moments in life when you feel the most pressure to do something instantly. To me, the most perfect example is not rushing to pick something up right after you drop it on the ground. And I don't mean leave it there for an hour. It's a difference of seconds. When you're in a highly reactive state and you accidentally drop something, like your chapstick, for example, you leap to pick it up as fast as possible, even if your hands are full of other things, making it harder for you to bend over and harder for you to pick the thing up. Dropping something doesn't have to make you flustered or cause awkwardness and rushing. It's the false urgency to pick up the thing immediately that causes those vibes, awkwardness, fluster, along with a sense of shame, kind of, because trying to pick the thing up as fast as possible kind of makes it feel like you're trying to erase the fact that you dropped it, like trying to make it like it didn't happen. But it did happen. And in a state of non-reactivity, you recognize that the dropped chapstick isn't an emergency, and you simply allow it to be dropped for another 5 or 10 seconds while you deal with whatever else is in your hands. Then, when you're totally ready to do so, you bend over at a slower pace using a body position that's the most comfortable and the least stressful for you, and easily, elegantly pick up the dropped item. It's so common for people to exhibit a kind of subtle physical and energetic freak out when they drop a small thing, that being with someone who drops something and does not react this way, who allows some time to pass in the moment before picking it up, is actually quite striking. Basically, not freaking out is an extremely elegant behavior. Other examples of non-reactivity are when there's a pause in conversation, not rushing to say something, but rather sitting back and allowing a few seconds to pass and seeing what happens. That's one of the hardest ones for me. When you see something surprising or distressing, or you hear unwelcome news, not gasping or jumping or saying something like, "What?" or "Oh no," but rather allowing a few moments to pass in stillness. When you feel the impulse to check your phone, even though you have no real reason to check it, no need, catching yourself in the act, waiting and allowing a few moments to pass before you give in to the impulse, so that when you do reach for your phone, if you choose to do so, it's an active choice instead of a reaction to the impulse. And you might choose to not touch your phone and just look out the bus window and watch the scenery go by, or again, redirect your focus and attention to the person who's with you. When you have a strong emotion, waiting several seconds or even minutes before you do something about it. I learned something amazing from my brilliant friend and mentor, Julia Frodal, which is that strong emotions only last about a minute. 60 to 90 seconds, I think, is what she said. And Julia talked about how, of course, if you fight an emotion as it's happening to you, or if you kind of continue to egg it on, or you draw it out by continuing to tell yourself about it, kind of, then you amplify it, you keep it going, and it can stay with you for much longer. But if you're practicing non-reactivity, you only have to sit with a strong emotion for a minute or two, not poking at it or fighting with it or acting on it in any way. It's just a minute or two before it will have passed through you. And again, I learned this from Julia. She is a teacher of this kind of thing, and I'll link her as a resource down below. Now, of course, this is harder than it sounds, especially that last one. Practicing non-reactivity inside of yourself with respect to your own strong emotions, that's the most difficult version of this practice. And I can't teach you how to do it in a 15-minute YouTube video about elegance. So again, I'll put some resources down below, including the links to Julia's classes. But you might be able to make a start on non-reactivity just knowing about it. You might be able to make a start with little things like a dropped pencil, a silence in the conversation, a piece of unexpected news, a loud noise, an outburst from another person. And of course, it's not a matter of total indifference. Being entirely indifferent, not caring about anything that has happened is not, in my experience, very elegant behavior. But non-reactivity in the service of care, letting a few moments pass so that when you do act, you can do it gently, deliberately, unashamedly, thoughtfully. That is, to me, the height of elegance. So that's it. 3 ways to be elegant. Planning for your own ease and comfort, focusing on the person you're with, and practicing non-reactivity. And I think it's worth repeating here at the end that in my experience, checking your phone for no real reason sucks the power out of all three of these practices. So if they all sound impossible to you, then spending less time looking at your phone screen might actually be your starting place for elegance. I tend to think, after all of these years, that elegance is somewhat a matter of taking back your time. But I'll keep thinking about it. And maybe in another 5 years, I'll be back with another take on this topic. For now, I hope you enjoyed this one. I hope you'll consider subscribing to my channel if you aren't subscribed and checking out some of my other videos. And I really, really hope that you're taking extra good care of yourself so that you can be the most effective version of yourself as you do your work in the world.